Hi everyone, welcome to Career with Kalpi. In the last session, we had a phenomenal conversation with Professor Leena Chatterjee. I hope that inspired many of you for a career in academia. The link for that session is available in the description below. Today, we have Shreya Prakash, who is the co-founder of Flexibees, a company started in 2017 that helps businesses grow by providing part-time and project-based talent to them via a pool of highly qualified women who want to work remotely. An alumna of IIM Bangalore, Shreya spent 8+ years with Unilever before Flexibees. Hi Shreya, thank you very much for taking out the time to be on this series. Really looking
Hi,
forward to the conversation.
hi, Kalpi. Pleasure to be here. Looking forward to the conversation as well.
Thank you. So Shreya, to begin with, we want to better understand your career journey. You spent some time with Unilever and then transitioned to entrepreneurship. How did you come up with Flexibees?
Yeah, so I was with Unilever for 8 years, doing sales first and then marketing, and it's both were great stints. I was having a great time, learning a lot. Um, but I think as a woman especially get a little older, you start seeing that the world around may not always be ungendered, while your own upbringing may have been. But the world very much has certain challenges for women and especially women professionals, and that consciousness started coming through from looking at the lives of some of my colleagues and friends. And especially so, it was the journey of my now co-founder, then friend and batchmate Deepa, which compelled us to start the company. So she took a career break for a couple of years. She's a CA, has an MBA degree from the same college, and then she's worked as a management consultant. So your typical high achiever. And she took a break for a couple of years and found it tough to return, especially because she wanted a little bit of flexibility. And Rashmi and I, we are the other two co-founders, and together the three of us, we started talking about it, and we felt very strongly that it was a problem that needed to be solved immediately. We've been talking about diversity now and getting women back to work since a long time, but the needle hasn't moved on it. It's a crisis. It's a full-blown crisis at this point where women's workforce participation is declining, and there is an urgent need to do something about it. And we felt strongly enough to leave our well-paying and amazing jobs. So Rashmi was working with PNG at that time, and we felt strongly enough to want to do something, want to leave that environment and go off on our own. So that's how Flexibee started.
Amazing. And now I understand why the name. And then in terms of skill set, you transition from a corporate role to entrepreneurship. To start something of your own definitely requires a wide variety of skill sets. So how did you find any gap, first of all? And then if yes, how did you prepare yourself for the co-founder role?
Okay, so there is a bit of, I would say a gap in mindset, not a bit, in fact, it's a huge gap in mindset, or a huge change rather in mindset, that needs to happen when you shift from working in a large company to starting your own. And maybe it's about also, a gap of knowledge. Because some of us, don't know typically how the startup environment may work, what are the kind of arrangements that say the co-founders may have together, at what point to raise money, some of those things which are purely knowledge gaps. So we prepared for the latter. It's very hard to prepare for the former. And sometimes by design, because you've chosen the path of entrepreneurship, the mindset actually has started to change. Because somebody who's very entrenched in the corporate mindset would not perhaps take this irrational step in the first place. But we prepared for the latter, which is to fill the knowledge gap. We read books. We are, the three of us, pretty say bookish in that sense. So we read books. We read The Founder's Dilemma, and spoke through some of those things. We also read the lean startup approach, and that actually was pretty foundational to how we went about the early days of our startup.
Got it. Makes sense. If you could tell us then a little bit more about, I know you touched upon it, but if you could tell us a little bit more about the roles and responsibilities as the co-founder, and how has that evolved from 2017 to now?
Yeah, so I think pretty early on we kind of wanted to segregate the roles and responsibilities of the three of us. And we have a very unique sort of working model where we are responsible for our own functions and our own verticals, but for the larger conversations we do come together. So there is a lot of conversation that happens on some of the big things, and I think that perhaps is not so unique. That is how most companies should in fact grow. It's a good balance, I would say. So yeah, pretty early on we wanted to separate our responsibilities, and that kind of synced well with what we had done in our past lives as well, and where our interests also were. So I've done sales and marketing, so that was something that I was happy to pick up. So getting the demand, for example. So my role in Flexibees is to get the demand, basically to talk to companies or to through marketing interventions make them aware of what kind of power they can unlock through a flexible workforce. So that is my role. So very simply put, I get the demand, Deepa. She gets the supply, the talent. So she has a very intuitive understanding of the talent pool and the challenges that they face, because she herself has been in that situation. And that is something that worked well for us in multiple ways, even in creating our models, in creating some of the operational elements of how we do the match, and then even post the launch, some of the hand holding that we have in place to ensure that the first few days or the first couple of weeks that a woman professional is returning to work after a career break, she has a support system to speak to, or some sort of coaching environment to fall back on. So so Deepa looks after talent, and then additionally, she also is, she also leads project operations. Some of this that I spoke about, which is post-launch operations, and she's a CA, so finance and legal are also portfolios that she leads. And then Rashmi does the match. So I get a demand, Deepa gets the talent, and Rashmi does the match. So our match is very crucial to how we operate. It is actually our IP. We have a proprietary technology patent pending there. We do the match in a way that actually we've not seen anybody in the space doing. We do a match on functional fitment, but also on something that we call flexibility factors, wherein we evaluate for, say, each woman professional or candidate's time availability, time slot fitment, support systems. Some of those things which we have seen through our failures are very crucial to women returning. And also, of course, I think agnostically also these are important factors to a flexible or a freelance engagement working out or not. So it's something that sets us apart, gives us really high quality matches and good retentions and repeats. So she's the one who's led the development of this entire process and design. And over the last 2 years, we have actually integrated a lot of technology into it. So we are a tech first company today, with the entire vetting happening through technology and automated to a large extent. And that's something that Rashmi's led because of a couple of skills that she carried from her previous experiences. She is a coder. So pre MBA, she's worked in product development, and post MBA, she's worked in TNG as in insights, in consumer insights. So the entire role was about understanding, going deep, understanding strategic, motivations, those kinds of things which come into play when you are designing a system to match for motivations or match for, time availability, some of those things. And she also leads digital for us. So whether it is B2B or the B2C part, Rashmi leads digital, because in PNG she was also doing digital and new media for some time. So yeah, I think that's how we divided responsibilities, and it's worked out well for us. We get to do what we've built skills in and push that further, of course. So my experience was in B2C sales in a way, because I was working with an FMCG company. But yeah, I mean, to a large extent, it's transferable also, because I under me had a team of uh, you know professionals who further were talking to distributors and retailers. So in a way, it was similar, because I have a team under me today, which is the sales team of Flexibees. So in a way, we are doing the things that we build skills at, and pushing them further, and doing the things we enjoy doing.
Wow, that's amazing. I'll continue a little bit on this further, and more specifically, as you establish startups and grow it, I understand that you were already in a leadership position, you had a team under you, but then growing a startup from the ground up, apart from the responsibilities that you mentioned, there are a number of different responsibilities or dimensions or aspects to it. So how does your typical day look like as the co-founder? How much of that time is going into actually doing this versus all of the other things that you have to take care of?
So one very interesting aspect about us is that we hire from our own pool. So we have a pool of 40,000 women at this point, and growing. They are women professionals. Most of them are mothers who are, seeking to return to work after a break, and they want to work, in a part-time fashion and remotely. So because we hire from our own pool, we were able to hire these, amazing women through part-time models, which actually allowed us to start hiring our team much sooner than, say, a startup which is hell bent on hiring only full-time folks. I mean, one of our, of course, the benefits and the USPs that we speak about, and that actually clients respond to very well, is that they are able to hire really experienced folks in a very affordable way, because you're able to hire them through part-time models and project-based models. So we were also able to do that. So I think relatively quickly, we were able to sort of outsource the more, sort of the nitty gritty and the nuts and bolts of operations to the team. And, that left us with enough bandwidth to do, some of the more strategic stuff. But of course, I mean, there are operational aspects to each of our jobs also. So for example, for me, I lead sales. So for me, of course, there is a lot of operational aspect to it. So in terms of what my day looks like, that for me, I try to, sort of have, or rather have now figured out what slots in my day are best suited for what kind of work. So I, for example, would do something more strategic in the mornings, or, late evenings, something more operational in the second half of the day, something like that. Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So shifting gears a little bit, what were some of the challenges that you faced as a young entrepreneur? Any learnings from there that you want to share with others?
Sure. So I think the biggest learning for us, and in fact, it was something that we kind of did right, because we read the book, The Lean Startup Model, The Lean Startup Approach. So whoever wants to check that book out, I don't remember the words after the Lean Startup, the name of the title exactly, but it's by Eric Ries, and I'm sure you should be able to find this book. So basically, this was in a way the biggest mindset change that happened from our stints in large companies to building the startup. And I would say it's the biggest learning, and that my biggest recommendation to any entrepreneur who's starting out is to build your startup brick by brick. To not construct the palace, all at once. And when we come from larger companies, we kind of are trained to do that to some extent, because there are budgets, and there are internal stakeholders you need to impress. So you build fancy palaces without having any idea of how the market is going to respond to any of it. Whereas when you are an entrepreneur, and maybe that may work in when you're in a bigger company, because most times you understand the space really well. But when you are an entrepreneur, you're setting out to do something which by design is different, has not been done before. So it's very important to get market feedback in real time on what you're building. So that essentially is a lean startup approach. You MVP, you build a minimum viable product, and you take it to market, you get market feedback, and you course correct, and then you build the next piece. So that's what we did in the beginning. We kept adding elements or removing elements to our models, to our process, depending on failures that happened. Essentially, I mean, market feedback is essentially failure. So that's what happened in the first few months. But then it gave us, of course, a lot of agility. So whenever something would happen, we would be in a position to quickly take calls and change our process, build something else. And yeah, I think a lot of what we've built has been on the back of this approach.
Awesome. Now coming to success, how do you define success for the startup, success for this role, and how do you define goals for yourself?
So definition of goals, or defining of goals rather, can be very tricky in a startup, because and this is true for many other things in a startup, which is that you don't have any protocols. There are no set ways of doing things. You essentially have to find that your own passion, your own sense of ambition, and not only that, you have to align it with your other co-founders. So in our case, the three of us needed to be aligned not only on our vision but also on our ambition. And it's and it's very fortunate that we are the three of us aligned on what we want to become and how big we want to become. Of course, we are very aligned on the problem we want to solve. So all of these things are fortuitous, and it's something maybe apart from luck also, that you as a new entrepreneur or whoever's watching this should work towards as well, or try and gauge to whatever extent you can before you even start. So so we actually are very, very ambitious. For us, success for Flexibees means becoming the first name for anybody who wants to work flexibly, for any woman professional who wants to work flexibly, and for any business that wants to hire great talent in an affordable and agile way. So we want us to be leading this the space of flexible work across the globe, not just in India, because this is a global problem on both ends. There are women across the world. Women primarily are the ones who take on the caregiving responsibility. In other markets, more developed markets, the flexible ecosystem even it does exist. In developing markets, it is now coming up. So we want to lead the charge for both the women and for the businesses in globally, and we believe we are doing something differently. And so we have the right to command that leadership position in markets across the world.
Absolutely, and wishing you all the best to become a leader in that space. You are absolutely solving a real problem. Any last tips or advice to our audience, to our young entrepreneurs?
So if you are looking to get into entrepreneurship, I would say be sure that the problem that you want to solve is something that you feel strongly about, because the entrepreneurship journey is not easy. There will be days when things won't work out. There'll be months when things don't work out, and only the satisfaction of being able to solve a problem or being on the path to solving a problem that is important enough and important to you, that you personally resonate with, will see you through. Had entrepreneurial ambitions for a very long time, not gone down those roads because I realized that the pain that will come with some of those ideas will be such that will not justify the vision of what I set out to do.
Right.
But with this problem, I felt that yeah, there will be and I've seen that also play out, that there are problems, there are days which are low, but I can take it in my stride because the high of what we are doing is is big enough. So I think that that is important before you set out, and of course keep an open mind. While you're an entrepreneur, you may start with one idea, it may evolve into something else, the way that you do it may change. I think those are those are hallmarks of being an entrepreneur, is to keep learning. I think that's actually one of my motivations. The reason I became an entrepreneur was also because I wanted to keep challenging and keep learning. So it will happen if you're an entrepreneur, and it's best to embrace it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Shreya, for the wonderful insights and sharing your amazing journey with us. I know it was very difficult for you today to take out the time. Wish you a lot of success with Flexibees, and I'm sure you will become the #1 brand soon. And you're
Thank
solving
you.
a real problem. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much, Kalpi. Thanks for your for doing this. This is a much needed space that you're working in. Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for watching. I'm sure you enjoyed the conversation and got a lot of helpful insights. Young entrepreneurs, do let us know in the comment section the challenges that you are facing and how you're overcoming them. For more such videos, do subscribe to Career with Kalpi. Keep safe. See you in the next one.